Quarterfinals of Champions Cup this weekend, and there are some tasty fixtures. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. Champions Cup quarterfinal, and the teams that are left are all quality teams. There's obviously one standout team though that most people are expecting to win the title, but other teams get a slice of luck here and there. Things can completely change, and we've seen it before. Teams who are nailed on favourites, maybe not even making it to the final or semi-finals as well. So there's always chances for upsets. But we got one quarterfinal on Friday, we got two on Saturday and one on Sunday. So we're going to go through each of them, look at how the teams got to where they are, and then make a prediction. So starting with the first quarterfinal, that is Friday 10th of April, and it is Bath Rugby versus Northampton Saints. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff at the Rec. So all Premiership prefer in this one. At the moment, Bath second in the Premiership, Northampton first. So, you can't really get better than that in terms of current placings in the Premiership. Bath last year and the pool stages competition. Northampton, the runners-up. I don't think Northampton are at the level that they were last year, where they surprised Leinster in that semi-final, got to the final. They gave Bordeaux a game but as well in that final, but yeah, I don't feel like they're up to that level. But we've seen teams previously in this competition. You work your way through the knockout stages and you improve round by round, and suddenly by the final you've got all the bells and whistles on. Bath have certainly been the most impressive of the Premiership teams this year, and looking at this, it really is a tough one to call. We look at how the teams got here. So Bath pool stages, beat Munster 40 points to 14. That Tyburn yellow card where they just absolutely blitzed them in the first half, and then there was no coming back. Then they go away to Toulon. They lose 45 points to 34. That was a little bit of a shock result in that one. Then they go away to Castres. They win 43 points to 20. Normal service resumed. And then Edinburgh, the last game, they hockey them 63 points to 10. So some good momentum coming out of the pool stages. Obviously, they have a big break. And then we come back last weekend. And in the round of 16, playing against Saracens. Saracens actually get the better start of the two teams, leading, and Bath actually have to come back over the top of them, but they're able to do that. They have the quality for that, and they end up winning 31 points to 22. Northampton, in their pool stages, then they start off with win against Pau and 35-27. That was away from home. Then against a weakened Bulls team at home, they dispatched them pretty easily, 50 points to 5. Then they go away to Bordeaux. They lose that one 50 points to 28. Obviously, that was a repeat of last year's final, but Northampton not on the level that they were last year, as I said. And Bordeaux feels like they've actually gone up a level or so since last year too. And then finally, then they finish off with a home win against Scarlets, 43 points to 28. So that was their pool stages. Then round of 16, they're playing Castres at home, and they went 49 points to 41. And yeah, Castres really made them work for it. So both teams would have to put in real shifts in their round of 16. And, a lot of time, knockout stages, that really helps the team in terms of, you're not coming into this one cold. You didn't have like an easy run out, and you're not kind of sometimes you see teams they just very easy progress all the way through, and then suddenly adversity hits and they can't deal with it. But both of these teams, as I said, had to overcome adversity in their round of 16 games, so they'll both be battle hardened for this one. Bath at home, as I said, they're looking the most impressive of the Premiership teams this year, and I'm going to go for a Bath win in that one. The next game then is the first of the Saturday games. So this is Glasgow Warriors versus RC Toulon. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff. It's at Scotstoun Stadium. I'm surprised, that it is at Scotstoun. I thought, Glasgow's, into the quarterfinals, that maybe they go for a bigger stadium, but home advantage as well can be absolutely massive. And even if it's home country advantage, when you move it, it's not quite the same as being at home. So, the Glasgow obviously focusing more on actually getting the win than maybe financial reward. And obviously, if they do progress further onto semi-finals, they'll have some financial reward anyway, just for getting that far in the competition. But yeah, we got Glasgow, so their progress pool stages. Go away to Sale Sharks, they win 26-21. Really good start from them. Then at home against Toulouse, they're losing 21-0 at half time. They recover brilliantly in the second half, 28 points to 21 win. So basically, to my mind, they produced the best 40-minute performance of this competition so far this year. Not necessarily 80 minutes, but certainly brilliant half of rugby from them. Then they go away to Clermont. They win that one 33 points to 21. And they finish up then against Saracens with a home win, 28 points to 23. Then into knockout stages last week, playing against the Bulls. Didn't have all their own way. I thought the Bulls, did well to put it up to them. Glasgow not quite at the level that we've seen them so far this year, or even in recent weeks in the URC, but they still come through with a win, 25 points to 21, but probably a lot closer than they would have liked. But again, fair play to the Bulls for giving them that game and for sending a strong team as well. Next then, Toulon, let's have a look at their record so far. So pool stages. Away to Edinburgh, they lose 33 points to 20. Recover well, though, at home against Bath, beat them 45 points to 34. Then they beat Munster at home 27-25. That was a very close game. Munster came within a whisker of winning that one. And then finally then they go away to Gloucester and they win 31 points to 14. And that was a very important win because that was a pool that was so close. Almost every team was in contention on the final day to qualify. And then round of 16 then, home against the Stormers, they win 28 points to 27. Controversy at the end, actions of Olivon on the line, preventing a try. Then also the possibility of, Maul being collapsed and maybe a penalty try that because the yellow card was given for it. But didn't go the Stormers' way. But again, like the Bulls, fair play to the Stormers for their dedication in terms of actually sending a strong team and, taking the match seriously. Because we've seen in previous years, the South African teams not do it. We saw Leicester last week not take it seriously when the team they sent over to Toulouse as well. So it's not just South African teams not doing it in the past. Like Leicester did it this year as well, and we've seen French teams do it previously as well. So pretty much every league has had issues with this in the past. But I think it's brilliant that both the Bulls and Stormers did send strong teams, and hopefully it bodes well for the future for South African teams in this competition as well, because I truly believe that if they do take it seriously, we're going to see South African teams appearing in semi-finals, finals, lifting the trophy in the not too distant future as well. So, and I think once they start kind of doing that, getting further into competition, South African fans are obviously going to be watching the competition more. They're going to see what this competition really is all about, because when you get to the point at the end that you see that, and I think they're going to fall in love with the way that we have in Europe as well. So that's my hope for the future, and I think it's coming as well. But yeah, so we're looking at these two teams. You got Glasgow, they're first in the URC at the moment. Toulon struggling in the top 14, down 11th. Both teams made it to this stage last year before getting knocked out, quarterfinals. So one of these teams obviously going to go a step further, get to a semi-final, and that would be, I think, massive for both of them, because Toulon, previous winners of this competition, they had a dominant period in it as well. Glasgow, they haven't progressed that much in the competition, but a semi-final would be an absolutely massive step for them. And then the fact that Toulon, aren't at that level that they were, back, when was it, like the 10 years ago or something? I can't remember, but it's a while ago anyway. But yeah, for them to get to semi-final as well would be massive too. And looking at it, Toulon, they just about got through versus the Stormers. Glasgow struggled against the Bulls as well. I think both teams are probably going to produce better performances this week. And I think, if you're looking at this season, if both teams get closer to kind of their ceiling, I think Glasgow take the win. So I'm going to back Glasgow for the win in that one. Okay, on to the next game. And this is the second game on the Saturday. It is a 5:30 kickoff. It's Leinster Rugby, versus Sale Sharks at the Viva Stadium. And yeah, looking at this one, Leinster of last year or the year before, you would have said definitely going to win it. Leinster of this year, Stale absolutely have a chance in this. But let's have a look at how the teams got here. So Leinster start off against a weakened Harlequins team. They struggle, but they come out with a win, 40 points, 45-28. Then they go away to Leicester team, really struggling that. They're behind with 20 minutes to go, managed to go up the goods to get themselves a win, but again, still not looking like vintage Leinster. Then probably their best performance of the season, certainly in this competition, home against La Rochelle. They win 25 points to 24, and last minute of the game, there's a kick to win it. Harry Byrne takes the ball off Prendergast and he slots it, and his performance from the tee last week against Edinburgh as well was exceptional. And just kind of reiterating why he is Leinster's number one at the minute. He deserves that position, and those extra points off the tee, especially when the game was tight, was very important. Then they go away to Bayonne. They win 22 points to 13. Again, not having it all their own way there. Then into round of 16 against Edinburgh, get a really fast start, a couple of tries, but then Edinburgh pegged them back. Mistakes coming off Leinster's attack, and Edinburgh able to capitalise. We go to half time, teams very tight. Leinster then, second half, they begin to pull away a little bit, but still, Edinburgh able to get in for another try. Darcy Graham, some real magic from him, individual skill. And then Leinster, second half, keeping it much tighter and, not being as expansive, because that's where the issues were coming from, was, trying to use their multi-phase, multi-option attack that they've been so good at in the past that hasn't clicked this year. So it'd be interesting to see what way they approach this game. Will they decide or try to be more expansive, or will they keep it tight? And maybe if they can get themselves into a bit of a lead, we might see them then opening up rather than, so pretty much the opposite of what they did against Edinburgh. Sale then, they started off home loss to Glasgow, 26 points to 21, which, looking back on how Glasgow have gone the rest of the season so far, that was a pretty decent performance from Sale as well to get that close to them. Then they go with Clermont and they win 35 points to 14. Home then, the two Sharks playing each other, so Sale Sharks versus Hollywood Bet Sharks, and they win that one 26-10. And then to finish off the pool on a real downer, they go away to Toulouse and they're absolutely trashed, 77 points to 7. Luckily for them, there's a big break then before last weekend, and in the round 16 then they go away to Harlequins and they beat them 26 points to 17. I did not see that coming, but the fact now that they've won on the road as well, they know that Leinster are not in great form. And yeah, they've got to be feeling like this week they've got an absolute real shot of making a semi-final. Again, I think if you went back last year or the year before and looked at this, this is the semi-final lineup. You probably would have said, that Leinster were the most likely to win their quarter-final. I don't think that's the case at all. This year, they're probably certainly down the bottom two of the four in terms of home teams winning. So yeah, real chance for Sale. At the minute, Leinster down at 4th place in the URC, Sale at 7th place in the Prem. Leinster got to semi-final last year. Sale knocked out in the round of 16, so they've already gone one round more than they did last year. And from they're really in bonus territory now. They know they've gone beyond where anybody really expected them to go. So why not just give it absolutely everything against Leinster? Maybe catch on the hop. Leinster have another off day, and they can absolutely come out with a win. In terms of predictions, I've got my Leinster shirt on. I've got my Leinster bias on as well. And I'm going to go for a Leinster win, but I'm not very confident of it, honestly. But yeah, we're going to go for Leinster in that one. And then the final matchup then is, for me, the big game of the weekend. It's on Sunday, the 12th of April. It is a 3 o'clock kickoff. It's Union Bordeaux Begles versus Stade Toulousain or Toulouse. And it's at the Stadio Chambon del Mas. And yeah, you got defending champions versus the team that beat the semi-final last year. And they're talking about as well, Toulouse in the top 14, Bordeaux down in 4th. And for me, the two most impressive performances from the round of 16 as well. And they're clashing here in the quarterfinals. So Bordeaux, breezing through the pool stages. So first of all, they go away to the Bulls and they win 46 points to 33. And that was a real brilliant comeback win from them. Then home to Scarlets, they beat them 50 points to 21. Then repeat of last year's final against Northampton at home. They beat them 50 points to 28. And then they go away to Bristol, shoot out for who wins the pool. And they beat them 27 points to 15. And then last week then against a weakened Leicester team. So again, it's not just, people get onto the backs of South African teams for sending weakened teams. So you should do the same. If you are someone that does that, you should do the same and get on the back of whether it's a Prem team, other URC teams, French teams, or wherever, treat everyone equally. But yeah, very easy win, 64 points to 14 for them in that one. And I talked about in the review of the weekend as well, it wasn't the fact that they were perfect. It was the fact that they were, making errors, handling errors, ball going to ground or wherever. Didn't stop them at all. They, kept up the pace of the game, and they were still able to score tries while making errors like that as well. So just, the fact that they absolutely thrive in the chaos. I think Toulouse probably, certainly another team that can thrive in the chaos as well. So I think it's a good matchup. But yeah, we've got Toulouse then. So they start off pool stages to be a weakened Sharks team, 56 points to 19. Sharks absolutely deserved that hammering because of that. Then to go away to Glasgow, as I said, winning 21-0 at half time. Looks like, it's just a matter of time before they get that 4th try in the second half to take the bonus point win. Doesn't happen though. It's Glasgow score 4 tries in the second half and take that. Then they go to Saracens and they lose that one 20 points to 14 as well. And alarm bells really ringing. The Kings of Europe potentially getting knocked out in the pool stages. But then they come up with that win against Sale, 77 points to 7. And they get themselves into the knockout stages. Then home tie against Bristol in the round of 16, and they beat them 59 points to 26. Going Bristol, another team that love attacking rugby, but I think the difference between certainly Bristol and the likes of Toulouse and Bordeaux is that Toulouse and Bordeaux, while they might concede points, they generally, their defence will prevent enough scores from the opposition that they get a decent margin, and we saw that in that one as well. So really good performance from Toulouse. As I said, those two performances for me, the best of last weekend, and now we have them clashing here. The way I'm looking at this is, I think if this was in the top 14, I think Toulouse win. And the fact it's in Champions Cup, Bordeaux, defending champions, absolutely imperious all the way through so far, and just look like they're absolutely on fire. I think they will take out the win, but Toulouse will absolutely push them all the way.